Welcome to this session on mindfulness practice, awareness practice, and we will include some compassion practice at the end. Certainly in these troubled times, we can use some compassion practice for ourselves and for others. You know, I reflect on that, and we say these troubled times, but rarely have there been long periods where there weren't troubled times somewhere. And I think that that's something that we recognize, that there's always trouble in some sense. Nothing's ever perfectly smooth. So rather than think that, oh, we're going to find some place that's perfectly smooth, it's like hoping that the ocean would stay without waves, but that just doesn't happen. So instead, we want to be able to do these practices so that we can ride the waves without getting seasick. So we'll do the series of practices. We start with a grounding practice to get ourselves grounded and centered, from which we have a base to work with the mindfulness practice. And the first one is called close placement. And we do that because when we're first going to tame our minds, it's like having a new puppy. You don't just let it run around in the yard and hope that it comes when you call it. You keep it on a short leash, and when it goes, you pull it back. So the shortest leash we can have for our minds is our body. So in the close placement practice, we hold our minds in attention to our bodies, particularly our breathing and the internal sensation of filling and emptying. Then once we've tamed it a little bit, then we open up to going out more. And the practice that was the main practice for me for most of my life has been going out with the out breath, letting the in breath come in by itself, but a continual sense of going out. And as the breath dissolves into space, that sense of self-consciousness of me being with the breath also dissolves. And so the mind mixes with space in that way on the medium of the breath. And then we can work with our sense perceptions and open ourselves to the environment, both the internal environment of bodily sensations and thoughts, and the external environment of sights, sounds, smells, perhaps, tastes, if we've been having some tea or something like that. And work with the mind that does tend to wander. And we'll talk about what to do about that, but it tends to wander. So this is a little bit of meditation judo, that we say, okay, go ahead and wander, but wander among the sense perceptions in the present moment. And I did include thought because we perceive our thoughts. It's a mental perception rather than a physical sense perception. And then we'll finish with a compassion practice, which is a traditional Buddhist practice that flips our usual tendency. We usually say, well, I want to push away everything I don't like and take in only what I do like. And in this case, we say, well, you know what? My nature is the expansive quality of wisdom and compassion. Yes, I don't act that way all the time. I don't feel that way all the time, but that is the nature of our heart mind. And so this is an awakened heart practice, that we take into our awakened nature all the things we don't want, what we don't like about ourselves, And then we extend that to others and take in all the things that they're struggling with that we would usually push away, but we say, well, let's take those away from others and relieve them of their suffering, and then transform it and send to ourselves and others kindness, loving kindness that brings them happiness. So that's a summary of what we're going to be doing today. And it's helpful to begin with to take a good posture. You can be sitting on the floor on a cushion, or you can sit on a chair, some kind of seat. It's good to be sitting up because what we're trying to do is pay attention to our bodies and minds. And when we were in school, the teacher said, sit up and pay attention. Well, and we sat up. So sit up and pay attention, upright, but not rigid. You want to feel that your sit bones are pressing down into the seat, and the back of your head is extending gently upwards. If for those of us who still have some hair, it's as if someone's gently pulling us up by the cowlick in the back of the top of our head, but you can feel like the back of your neck is gently extending upward. And what happens is your chin comes in naturally. Because if we're sitting like this, we tend to get spaced out when the chin floats up. And if we're like this, we tend to get drowsy and fall asleep. So we want to find that Goldilocks position where we're not spaced out and not sleepy. Legs either loosely crossed in front of you, or if you're in a chair and your knees are even with or below your hips, you can just leave your feet flat on the floor, hip width. Let your arms hang straight to your sides. Leave the elbows where they are and swivel your hands up so that your hands are palm down on top of each respective thigh, just behind the knees. We're mainly breathing in through our nose. We always breathe in through our nose and mainly out through our nose. If a little goes out your lips, that's not a problem. So we want our lips just barely touching or barely parted. And for this first part of the practice, let your eyes gently close. You start by scanning for any unnecessary tension. We need some tension to hold that posture. But anything we don't need to hold the posture, we can let go. And the idea is the awareness of it. Just let your awareness tune into that tension, and just by doing so, let it melt. It's as if that extra tension melts and flows down and out of you. It's effortless, like sunlight hitting a snowflake on a leaf. It just melts the snowflake. And it drips down and out of us. From the top of your head, forehead, scalp, around your ears and the back of your head, eyes, cheekbones, mouth and jaw. Jaw is a common place for tension. If it doesn't seem to want to just melt out, you can move your jaw a little bit. You can even clench it for a moment, intensify the tension, and then drop it. Same thing for your neck and shoulders. Those are places where we have a good amount of tension. Let it melt, let your shoulders hang. You'd be surprised. You think you're relaxed, but your shoulders are up by your ears. And again, if you feel that residual tension quite a bit, you can tense your shoulders, tense your neck for a couple of seconds, and then Just let go. Without pushing them down, just let them fall. Part of the practice is being aware of what's going on and then just dropping it. Feel the tension in your shoulders. Just let them drop. Shoulder blades, collarbone, out to the points of your shoulders and upper arms, chest, upper back, rib cage all around. Let it all soften without losing your posture. Lower back, deep belly. The idea is a firm back, soft front. Again, in our deep belly, we often have more tension than we realize. It's somewhat challenging at first to let that deep belly and pelvic area, just let it relax without losing your posture. Again, if there's lots of residual tension, tense that whole area up for a couple of seconds and then just let go. Firm back, soft front. Hips and pelvis, upper legs, forearms and hands, knees, calves, ankles and feet. And part of dropping is letting your mind drop as well. Usually we think of our minds as behind our forehead. Let your mind drop and fall back and down. Back to the back of your skull and down behind your throat, down behind your chest, slowly settling down like a leaf, gently settling to the bottom of a clear pond. Behind your heart, behind your stomach, behind your navel, down a few inches below your navel, just in front of your spine in the deep core of your torso. It's quiet down there. There's just a gentle movement of your lower torso as the breath goes in and out, like gentle currents at the bottom of that pond. You've dropped the tension. You've dropped your mind, your awareness deep into your core. Now drop your body. Really let it sink into the chair or seat that you're on. Breathe out and sink down. Maintain your posture, but breathe out, sink down. Let your body drop down. And imagine that you breathe out and sink down right through everything into the earth. You merge with your earth. It's as if your lower body is part of the earth. That's as grounded as you can be. But your posture extends upward, majestic like a mountain. Now, just be an observer of your breath. Notice how it comes and goes on its own without you having to control it. Sometimes deeper, sometimes shallower, short or long, coming and going as it will, like the wind. Let your mind open up. Drop the tendency to grasp things with your mind. Identify with the spaciousness of your mind, like the sky, across which birds fly, clouds float, an occasional plane zooms by. The sky accommodates all of that. So be open to whatever is going to arise in your experience. With body like the mountain, breath like the wind, mind like the sky. As the gong fades, let your eyes gently open about halfway, looking downward, aware of your body, sitting in space. You turn your attention to the internal sensation of filling as the breath comes in, a brief moment of transition, and then emptying as the breath goes out. When the breath's all the way out, there's another brief moment of transition. Then it comes in again and fills. Do this as best you can without controlling the breath, just observing the feeling, the internal sensation of filling and emptying within an awareness of your posture. In this way, body and mind are in the same place at the same time, fully synchronized. If at some point your mind wanders off into a daydream, the body's always here. The body's always now. As soon as you wake up from the daydream, you are already back. So there's no need to say, oh, come back to the present. You're already here. Reconnect with posture, the feeling of filling and the feeling of emptying to synchronize body and mind. And we'll do that for a few minutes. If you've gotten sleepy and your eyes closed, reinvigorate your posture. Raise your gaze a little bit and notice the whole feeling of the breath coming in through your nostrils and down, all the way down and into you, and then up and out through your nostrils. If your mind has gotten wild, and you're full of thoughts, lower your gaze even more and drop your attention deep into the core of your torso again. Feel it expand and contract as the breath comes in and out, filling, emptying. As the gong fades, raise your gaze a bit, slightly below horizon level, but out into the space in front of you. If you're looking at your device, you can turn a bit sideways to give yourself more space. And rather than grasping onto what your eyes are looking at, soften your gaze so that your awareness is open to that space in front of you. And as each breath goes out, ride out with it. Let your mind be part of the breath. Go out with the breath, and as the breath dissolves into the atmosphere, your awareness dissolves and opens into the atmosphere. Your sense of self-consciousness lets go and dissolves into spaciousness. The breath comes in by itself, and as it goes out again, go out with it, out, dissolve, and then rest in that spaciousness as the breath comes in by itself. Out, dissolve, rest. We'll do that for a couple of minutes. If thoughts arise, you can imagine them just floating by, above you or behind you, in that spacious sky of your mind. Again, if they take you away into a daydream, when you wake up from it, just reinvigorate your posture, wait for the next out breath, go out, dissolve, and rest. As the gong fades, raise your gaze even more and open up to your peripheral vision. Soften your gaze as wide as it can be, as high and low as it can be. Without moving your eyes, let your awareness move around the field of your vision, noticing colors, shapes, and shades of light and dark. Labels may arise in your mind, but there's no need to comment any further on them. Leaving your eyes open, turn your attention to sound. My voice coming from your device, sounds in the room, ambient sounds in the room. And open up your hearing, like peripheral hearing. Open in all directions to sounds as far away as you can hear. Let your awareness pick up all the sounds, high, pitched and low, loud and soft, near and far. Again, with eyes open, tune into bodily sensations. Your weight pressing into the seat, feet pressing into the floor, clothes on your body, air on the skin of your hands and face, cool, dry air coming in your nostrils, warm, moist air going out. You may even feel your pulse, your heart beating in your chest, or your pulse in your fingertips. Watch for thoughts that appear. Identifying with the space of your mind, Just watch how thoughts arise in that space, dwell for a moment, and dissolve. And another thought arises to take its place. Or there's just spaciousness for a moment. And now for the next couple of minutes, let your mind wander where it will. If something visual captures your attention, explore that for a moment. If it's a sound, explore sound, bodily sensation, thoughts, perhaps even a smell in the room. Whatever it is, allow the mind to go there, rest on it for a moment, and let go. You can stay with the perception for as long as the mind is resting on it. And then if another perception, another sense perception moves the mind away, go with that. Gently let the mind move among your sense perceptions. As the gong fades, open your mind, let go of the sense perceptions, and tune into the feeling of spaciousness. Imagine your mind as big as the sky itself, awareness extending in all directions as far as the sky, above and all around you. Let go and open even further. Imagine that your mind extends out beyond the sky, out into space. Awareness as big as the universe. Out into space farther and farther in all directions. Out in all directions beyond the farthest star. And rest for a moment in that infinite openness. That expansiveness is the nature of our mind. Mind is not a thing. yet it is clear and aware. That nature of mind is really our true awakened heart, possessing the capacity for ultimate wisdom and ultimate compassion. Imagine in your heart center, at the center of your chest, at the level of your heart, a beautiful clear crystal made of light that is the expression of your awakened heart, the mind of infinite wisdom and compassion that is all of our true natures. Imagine your body as being made more of energy and light than matter, not so solid as we usually think. With that lightness and that brilliant clear crystal in your heart center, rouse first a feeling of compassion and kindness toward yourself. You can leave your eyes open and let them gently close, whatever feels more comfortable. But imagine, reflect on all the ways that you have negative feelings toward yourself or unpleasant physical feelings of illness or anxiety, everything that you don't want to feel, even emotions, negative emotions towards others, negative feelings toward yourself. Gather all of that in as you breathe in into the crystal in your heart center. It instantly transforms and radiates out, filling your being with the cool moonlight of kindness. It fills your beings with all of the opposite positive qualities. Breathe in blame or guilt, transforms and radiate out to yourself forgiveness and acceptance. Breathe in anger and frustration, radiate out to yourself as you breathe out patience, kindness. Breathe in discomfort, breathe out to yourself ease. Compassion for yourself is taking away your suffering. As you breathe in, loving kindness for yourself is extending out. Kindness and happiness to yourself. Having felt that feeling of kindness and loving kindness and compassion for yourself, your awakened heart naturally wants to extend that to others. Begin with one or more of your loved ones there in front of you. They all have suffering and struggle, anxiety and dis-ease. They all want happiness, peace, and health. As you breathe in, Imagine that you are taking away from them all of their suffering and struggle, all of their illness, into the crystal in your heart that transforms it. And as you breathe out, radiate a cool moonlight of kindness and love to all of them that fills their beings with peace, health, and happiness. Take in suffering and struggle from them, radiate out, filling them with peace, health, and happiness. There is no ultimate solidity to any of these feelings. It's energy. And you take in the negative energy, it transforms and radiate out positive energy. The capacity to gather in is limitless, and it is an infinite capacity to radiate out kindness. As best you can, include more beings, anyone you've ever met, that you have good, bad, or neutral relationship with. We all share in common the wish to be free from suffering and to have happiness. And beyond that, include all creatures, great and small, all living beings. As best you can, breathe in, take in all the world's suffering and struggle and illness. All that energy you have an infinite capacity to transform in the crystal in your heart center. And it radiates out peace, health, and happiness to all beings. Any fear and hatred in yourself or the world that seems to pervade the world in these days, you can take all of that away into the crystal in your heart and radiate out to yourself and all the world loving kindness and compassion instead of fear and hatred. As the gong fades, let go of the visualization. Drop into your posture and your body. Synchronize mind and body with the breath for a few breaths. And we conclude each session with an expression of even more our intention to benefit others. By dedicating whatever benefit comes from this practice, not just holding it on to for ourselves, but that we do this with the intention of benefiting others. So you can repeat after me or use your own words. May the practice I have just done be of benefit to others as well as myself. And if you're feeling particularly generous or want to cultivate generosity, you can say, may the practice I've just done be of even more benefit to others than to myself. And that concludes our session of mindfulness, awareness, and compassion practice.